It is time for another episode of Sassy and Single, because that's what I am. I'm your host, Natalie Sady, and I am beyond excited that today I actually have a man sitting on the couch to give us a little bit of insight into how the male brain works. Relationship Insight Ninja, did I get that right?
That's perfect.
Bryan Reeves, thank you so much.
It's so good to be here. That's right, we're gonna just crack open the male brain and see what's there.
Well, I was talking to some girlfriends because that's what we do as women. We communicate and we talk and we dissect everything that goes on.
Yeah.
And I have discovered we go through every scenario when we're talking about dating and our experiences, and we're always wrong. We have 10 different reasons for why something has happened, and then you speak to a man and they say that's not it at all. And they explain.
Yeah, you know, I was, remember that book, He's Just Not Into You?
Yes.
So I had a brief friendship, I would say, with the co-writer of that book, who was a woman, Liz Tuccillo. And she told me that when they approached Greg, who was the co-author of that book, about doing the book, they were writers on Sex and the City, and she said, look, we want to do a book about, you know, he's just not into you. And Greg said, that doesn't need to be a book. It should be a pamphlet. It's just not that complicated, right? And I think that's one of the things that, I think you said something that women were always wrong. Well, I would challenge that only to say that you're wrong, I think, when you go into all the details.
Yes.
When you go into all the explanations and all that. But I think what I discovered is that women are often right. At least in the he's ready or he's not ready.
Okay, yeah.
He's ready or he's not ready. You know, when I've worked with women in my coaching practice, and we're talking about you know, women who are going through a breakup and are really hurting. You know, they've been years with a guy, maybe 2, 3, 4 years with a guy, and all of a sudden it just goes to. Can I curse on this?
Yeah, go for it.
Goes to shit. I will ask the question: when did you first know that this wasn't going to go well? Almost invariably, they will tell me on the first date. I knew on the first date that something was off.
But they explained it away.
Exactly, explained it away. And we all do that. All of us humans do that. We're really attached to an outcome. Oh, I want this one. I want this could be the one. And we look at all of the good signs that it could be the one, and we ignore all the red flags.
I once had a girlfriend who's a psychotherapist, and she changed my life for many different reasons. But I remember I was dating in Australia, and there was a guy who kept asking me out, but his actions were really, it was just poor in the way he sort of was dealing with me. I clearly wasn't a priority, and there's a certain level where that's okay, but it was almost rude. And I said to her, what's going on? I've said, no, I don't want to go out with him at this point, because we had sort of 3 false starts. And she said, they will always let you know very early on in the piece who they are. What you need to decide is whether that is okay or not.
That's right.
This guy will never make you a priority. There's always something better, something else going on, or something that has his attention more than you. And that lesson has served me so well.
Yeah. I think one of the things when we were talking about this show, and one of the things that we talked about is how men and women, we tend to date differently.
Yes.
And what I generally see, and nothing is this black and white, you know, but men tend to date, dating is an adventure. We tend to be more adventure seekers. We're seeking freedom through all our exploits, whatever that is. And whereas women tend to date for connection.
Yes.
Right? Looking for connection. All of us want connection and all of us want freedom, but generally speaking, this is what I said at the beginning, women, you know, if a man is ready, you can feel it in the way that he's showing up. And if he's not ready, you can feel it in the way that he's not showing up, or in the things that he's saying. And this is often what for a lot of women will be the first clue is what he's talking about, what he's saying on the first date, the sort of objections he's already throwing out there. You know, one of the ones that men will put this right on their dating profile. And I always tell women, run. I don't want drama.
All right.
I don't want drama. If you don't want drama, what you're basically saying is, I don't want a relationship with a living human being.
See, and as a woman, and I haven't dated online before, if I'm being completely honest, but I have read a lot of profiles through my friends' accounts, because I'm fascinated by it. But if I read that, I would think that they didn't want a woman who was full of drama, because there are men and women, both sexes do this, where it's all dramatic and it's all over the top and that's too much for me. So that is how I would interpret it. Obviously incorrect. So
if you have to say it, all relationships are going to have their share of what I call drama is the shit coming up.
Yeah.
Here it is. The best relationship will cause, because when you feel safe with someone, all your unhealed stuff, all the stuff you've never dealt with, all the stuff that you've kept on guard that you didn't want to show anybody, because it just, when you finally feel safe with someone, here it comes.
Yeah.
And it's easy to see that and go, oh, that means we shouldn't be together. Oh, look at all this drama. Look at how she's reacting. So all these abandonment, daddy issues. I don't want any of that. When we don't realize that our own daddy issues are in the way, our own abandonment issues are in the way, or our enmeshment with our mother, whatever's coming up, it's gonna come up. So if you have to say, I don't want no drama, you are not prepared for a real relationship with a human being. You're absolutely right that there's no value in beating each other up with our emotions. No one should, when we fight, we need to learn how to fight, with keeping our punches above the waist. I'm talking metaphorically, not literally, but we're going to hurt each other. Yeah. We're going to say things. Again, our wounds are going to speak for us. We've got to be prepared for that if we want a relationship. If we're not prepared for that, then just don't be in a relationship.
And there's nothing wrong with saying, I don't want to be in a relationship.
Absolutely.
Where I struggle with dating is where people will sit across the table from you and they will say all of the right things on the first date, where there is no, they don't need to be saying all this stuff. It could just be getting to know you, but they sit there and talk about how they want a relationship and they want children and they want these things that women typically want. And I mean, I'm saying that because everybody's different and they want different things, but generally that is what is expected of what women want in relationships. And yet 2 dates in, 3 dates in, their behaviour is completely different. I've got girlfriends who are kind of seeing these guys, but they never have time to see them. But yet when they're together, he's saying all the right things. And I sit there and go, stop waiting.
Again, I think you've got to really be clear about what do you want? It's okay, like you said, for a woman or a man, like, I don't want to rush into a relationship. Okay, good. That's fine. That's beautiful to own that. Or I don't want to even be in a relationship. In which case, I heard someone describe dating apps. Really, they should be called meeting apps, which I think is a really healthy way of looking at it. These are meeting people apps.
Yeah.
It's a great way of looking at it. But if you're clear that you're wanting a relationship, you can tell really quickly. When I met Sylvie, my fiance, we've been together over 3 years. And when I met her, I was single for about 6 years. I'd wanted to be in a relationship for a long time, but also, just dating in LA and meeting, I met amazing women. It just something was always kind of off. I didn't know what it was all the time, but and when I met Sylvie a few months before that, and I did a video about this on my YouTube and Facebook page, and I'm committing to being single. I said, I am committed single until there is a woman shows up that is a hell yes for me to commit to. But until then, it's not a maybe, it's a hell no. Yeah. And that's okay. I met Sylvie maybe 4 months later. Okay. When I was really rooted in being proud and single. And I met her, let me tell you, it was like I thought our date would be an hour. I'd be in and out of there. I get dating a lot. 5 hours we spent together. We sat in her car for a few hours after closing down the cafe where we met, and there wasn't a day went by that I didn't reach out to her, initiate relationship. That's something to be really mindful of. Look, a lot of women get stuck on this, and there's a lot of reasons for this, but a lot of women think they have to make a relationship happen. Yes. And you certainly can, but boy, it's gonna be a lot of work, right? And one of the things that I'm deeply, deeply sensitive to and aware of as a man, there's something in many men, not all men, but many men, that resists relationship altogether.
Do you, and I think that's been something that men do sort of throughout time, but do you think dating apps make that a bigger issue because there is now an abundance of women that they can choose from, whereas in the past they had to put in work to get these women to go out with them?
Well, not only they had to put in work, but there wasn't just an easy option after.
Yes.
Saying no to a particular woman after one date that didn't quite go the way they wanted it to, or maybe it did go the way they wanted to, but they want another adventure. Yeah. I'm 44, so I didn't grow up with dating apps. So yeah, getting a date with one woman was a big fucking deal.
Well, you had to go to the clubs or the bars or be somewhere, and you had to approach them. You had to put in
you school, exactly.
so much work. Yeah.
Had to get the courage to ask her out, like go through this whole thing. Yeah. You're right. These days, it's just the flip of a finger I'm on to the next.
And if you say no, that's fine. I've got 5 others that will say yes.
Exactly. Or if you say yes and we go out and it goes exactly the way I want it to, and I'm like, well, that was fun. Next adventure.
Yeah.
Same. Men tend to, until we're really ready for a relationship, we date for adventure. We're looking for adventure. So just be mindful of that. If you're a woman and you're looking for a man who's really ready, be mindful. There are, these are conversations you can have and should have on the first date. Yes. It's funny. I told Sylvie, actually through chatting, and I didn't even know I was talking to the woman that I would end up marrying. But the first time we spoke, we actually connected through Facebook. And I was in the middle of a cabin in Idaho, in the middle of nowhere. And
of course you were.
Of course I were. I was finishing writing my second book, and I went there to get away from the world, but I ended up chatting with Sylvie on Facebook. One of my blogs went viral. It just exploded, and it was all this energy coming at me, and I was just having this conversation with Sylvie. I don't know why. We just talked. We had some friends in common. I'd never met her before, and I told her, I'm done doing this by myself. I'm ready for a partner to do this with. And I was just sharing that like I would have shared it with anybody.
Yes.
I had no idea that I was talking to the woman that I would marry. I was ready.
And I think, because I've been single for a long time, and I've been saying to my friends, I'm ready to date, I'm ready to meet this person, and I don't know who they are. And one of the things that people struggle to understand with me is they say, what's your type of guy? And I talk about qualities. I don't talk about the physical appearance. I would like him to be taller than me, but it's not a deal breaker. Do you know what I mean? And
Totally.
I like a darker haired man, but if a blonde man walked into my life and rocked my world, that would be amazing.
Yeah.
But it's that connection, and it is something that is indescribable. It is when you are together, there is that chemistry and that understanding and that feeling like you almost know each other even when you don't.
Yeah, a question that I'll often ask women, and you're really hitting on it, and I want to draw an important distinction here too, but a question that I'll often ask, and men, when they're looking for that, when they're really ready and they're looking for that partner, one of my favorite questions to ask, because I've done those lists. I've done, I want her to have nice eyes. I want her to be sparkly. I want her to have a great singing voice. I want her to be kind to children. Who doesn't want a partner who's kind to children?
Of course.
It should be on everyone's list. But here's the golden question for me. How do you want to feel around your ideal partner?
Yeah.
How do you want to feel around your ideal partner? And this is where, again, in that first, it might take a date or two or three, because we all can kind of be on our best behavior on the first date and project that, be that chivalrous. But really quickly, as you start to say yes, just by saying yes to even a second date, as you start to open for a man because you're feeling good, maybe there's chemistry, you'll know, when he starts to feel your yes, does he encroach? Does he take it farther than you want to take it in that moment? Is he pushing, or is he pulling back and saying, oh shit, she's saying yes, I need to let her know that, my kids come first.
Yes.
I mean, those are the things, and you can immediately feel in your own body, closure. That's a red flag.
So you've just hit on, I feel like we're having the same conversation, we're just delivering it differently, but that's essentially what I always say to people, because the way I want to feel when I'm with someone is safe, and it's not just physically safe. Right. I want to be safe to let those barriers down, because there are people that think I'm weird, and that's fine. I embrace that.
Weird is the new normal.
Yeah.
It's okay.
People who follow my Instagram, I post photos of my dad, and friends have come to me recently and said, you now make sense. Because my dad's nuts, and I love it, and I think he's adorable. But I want to be able to be that person without fear of judgment, without fear of them walking away. I want to be able to talk about the deep things that affect me and run through my mind. And I think that's a hard thing for some people to sort of comprehend.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think, again, you said it, you want to feel safe. But see, men, we generally don't understand what that means. It's not even a conversation we have. We just think, well, I'm not going to beat you or rape you or kill you, so you're safe. What are you talking about?
Yes.
And what we don't realize, and I'm in this boat too, I didn't realize this for so long, that safe isn't just safe from me hitting you or forcing you physically to do something, you mean emotionally safe.
Yes.
Are you going to share with me some vulnerability or pain, and am I going to meet you with some analytical judgment that
Yes.
basically dismisses and says why you shouldn't feel that way? I only did that for maybe 20 plus years, you know.
Only 20?
Only 20 plus. And a couple, you know, I dabble with it with Sylvie from time to time. She never lets me get away with it. But that's revolutionary. That's something that all of us men, we need to learn. That I was in a Tony Robbins workshop. I think he may have borrowed this from Alison Armstrong. But anyway, he asked, you know, a room full of 2,000 people, men, how many of you have not felt safe in the last week? Maybe 5 hands went up out of 1,000. Women, how many of you have not felt safe in the last week? 1,000 hands went up. It was mind-blowing. Like, we men, we don't generally feel unsafe in the world.
Yes.
Not generally, unless there's a physical something, like, whereas women tend to live with that constantly, even in their own intimate relationships.
Yes.
And we men don't understand that. But we need to learn that, because when you don't feel safe, your body closes.
Absolutely.
Sex doesn't happen when they don't feel safe emotionally. So I'm speaking to the men out there. Like, well, I don't know which camera I'm supposed to look into. I want to look at all of them. You know, that's so important.
Well, I always talk to my married girlfriends and married men. And the men will come in and go, oh, my wife's not giving me any. I can't cope. I can't live without sex. And then I speak to my girlfriends and they say, he's being an asshole.
Yeah.
He doesn't help me with the kids. And because I haven't given him a blowjob in the last week, he's giving me nothing. He won't help me around the house. He won't do this. He won't do that. And I always say to the men, and I say to both parties, what can you change to make the situation different? And often the men go, no, until she does. And I keep explaining to them, if this isn't engaged for a woman in this, this closes off.
I don't want to beat up on men. I'm a man. I love being a man. I love men. But what we need to realize, and women too, because women, we get caught, we do what I call fight at the level of the complaint. It's about taking care of the kids, whatever. It's about, I don't know, you don't go to enough of your kids' soccer games, or you don't help me around the house, and we get stuck there. And we're lost there, because in that logical mind, the guy can think, well, what are you talking about? I mean, I pay all the bills around here, or most of the bills, or I do this or do that. And we're screwed in that place. What couples, they're not fighting about sex. They're not fighting about money. They're not fighting about, those things are triggers. But what we're fighting about is what I call a crisis of connection. Yes. We're having a crisis of connection. And that word connection, again, I remember years ago, one of my dearest friends said to me, you know, he was having some marriage problems, and him and his wife, they were sitting on the couch, like you and I are right now, and they were talking about their marriage and about things, and they'd been together 10 years, and she says, I just don't feel connected to you. He looks around, he's like, okay, we're in the same space, we're having a conversation. What the F are you talking about? I don't feel connected to you. What does that even mean? Right?
Yeah.
I'm laughing because it's so tragic and it's so common. And so much of my work, and this has been my journey as well, is learning how to connect. The School of Nonviolent Communication has this phrase they call connection before correction. You know, and they use it in negotiating really bad situations, you know, helping heal crises like the Rwanda massacre and things like this. And well, it applies to our relationships. Can we create connection before correction? Before, you know, we're never going to figure out who has to take out the trash or who's taking enough care of the kids or who's doing this until we're connected first.
Yes. Bryan, I could talk to you, I think, for another 5 hours, just like Sylvie. I feel like there is going to be a part 2 of this at some point, but thank you so much for making the time to sit down and speak with me.
Absolutely.
If you are not already following Bryan on Instagram or Facebook, please go and have a look at his pages. They are phenomenal and you will get lost in them. Until next time, I'm Natalie Sady and this is Sassy and Single.